Sutherland
Greetings, everybody, and welcome back. We've got my dear friend, Stephen Willeford. Stephen and I have been on a charity motorcycle ride delivering Christmas toys down through Wilson County. He's a resident down there in Sutherland Springs, but I think all of you recognize and know Stephen for the incredible, courageous act that he took a few years back down in Sutherland Springs at his church there. But let me give you a little background. A native of Sutherland Springs, Texas, Stephen was raised in a family of 5 on a dairy farm. He is the 4th generation to live only on a few hundred acres of land there in Wilson County. He's always relied on his faith to guide his life, and deep roots in Sutherland Springs are a product of his family's commitment to his community. Stephen is an avid sportsman. He began shooting at a young age and honed his shooting skills by participating in shooting competitions as he grew older. He made sure his 3 children were trained in gun safety, passing along his expertise. And after the deadly mass shooting in November of 2017 in Sutherland Springs, he kind of became known all across the country as the good guy with a gun. He has credited God's unwavering faithfulness instead of bravery as to why he was able to intercede during that event. And he believes that each day of his life prepared him for what God called him to do on that Sunday morning. Stephen, my dear friend, it's good to be with you. Thanks for taking the time to be with me.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, let's first of all talk about another endeavor that I am so proud to endorse you for, and that is you're running for a county commission seat down there in Wilson County. Tell us about that race.
I'm running for county commissioner down here, and people ask me why I chose to run, and this has been something that has weighed on me for a very long time. I was going to do that when I started to when I got to a point where I could retire and then move on to that. And I'm at that point now, and I want to do it because I have 3 grandchildren that are going to be raised in my county. And I want to make my community the best that it can be for my children and for my grandchildren.
Now, what are some of the big issues down there in Wilson County that you want to focus on as a county commissioner?
Well, one of the things I want to focus on, I want to make Wilson County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. And I don't believe that we should have to, but with today's environment, I think we need to. I think we need to do that so that we let politicians know that we're not going to infringe on people's right to carry a gun, to defend themselves, to defend their communities and stuff. But also, priorities obviously is the sheriff's department, make sure that it's fully funded and has the means that it needs to do its job to its best ability. Fire and EMS, and we also have the Connolly unit, the county-run hospital. And so a lot of people don't understand county commissioners more than just roads. And obviously, I want to maintain the roads, but it's the budget for the whole county, whether it's sheriff's department, whether it's EMS and firefighting and whatever it is, and we want to maintain all that.
Now, with this recent COVID-19 coronavirus issue, how have you seen your county, Wilson County, be impacted? Because we know across the state of Texas, we've seen 2 million Texans now unemployed.
Yeah, well, we are very much impacted, and a lot of our residents actually go to San Antonio to work in San Antonio and stuff, and we've lost a lot of jobs here, and we've got a recovery that we're going to have to work on. And Wilson County is implementing everything that the governor has recommended, and then we have cities like Floresville that has required masks and stuff. And Floresville is not in my precinct, but yeah, we're suffering with the rest of the country, and I'm ready for this all to be over.
Yeah, because we got to get those small businesses back open. That's so important. It's not the big chain stores. It's about the ma and pa that are out there doing the best to take care of folks in their communities. So let's switch topics a little bit, because you and I were recently down in San Antonio. You mentioned San Antonio. We were there together at the Alamo, and we were discussing this issue about moving the cenotaph, the empty tomb memorial, to those 183 who stood and lost their lives there. What is your big concern about this revisionist history and all of these monuments, shifting and moving and removing that we see happening here in Texas?
Well, I don't believe that the city of San Antonio has the right, the mayor and the city council, that serve just and they have limited terms. They have term limits, and a mayor and the city council should not be able to make a decision that impacts Texas and actually the nation, because the Alamo is bigger than just San Antonio. And again, as you mentioned, this is a tomb for the heroes of the Alamo, the men that died, the men that stood on those walls and said they knew they were going to die, but they were going to hold out as best they could. And they fought for future generations. This wasn't for them. This was for their future of Texas. And this affects Texas. And we as Texans should have a vote on anything that gets done there. Now, if they want to keep the Alamo and refurbish the Alamo and stuff like that, and maintain, the Daughters of the Republic did that for 100 years and did it well and did not cost the taxpayers any money to do it. And now the city and even the state have kind of taken over those roles and charging tax money to do it. And it's a national shrine. And that's a tomb where they took and stacked up all the bodies of the heroes. And they executed the ones that weren't dead. They executed them, and then they stacked them up there and they burned those bodies. That cenotaph is sitting on that very same ground. And they want to reimagine the Alamo. They want to make it into a theme park. They want to put kiddie rides in there. And they said, we want to attract families and we want to bring children here. I think there's a reason to bring children there. But, there is a kiddie park over by the zoo. You want to take your kids to a kiddie park, go over there. This is hallowed ground. We need to take our children and our next generation there, but we need to teach them there's a different place for having fun and riding rides, and there's a place to show reverence and to understand. These men fought and died for your freedom. They fought and died for Texas.
And one of those important freedoms and liberties that we have here, and you've become, pretty much so a face of the Second Amendment movement, not just here in Texas, but all across the United States of America. And we know that even here in Texas, you have people that are trying to undermine the ability for us to keep and bear arms, that right that shall not be infringed. Talk to us about, how you have been getting out, not just here locally, but all across the nation, and speaking out about the Second Amendment and our rights.
Well, I was, I guess the big one, I was invited to Virginia. And I spoke in front of the capital of Virginia. And the media tried to say, there was only 22,000 people there. I think maybe there was 22,000 people on the grounds itself, but the streets in Virginia were lined, and I wouldn't doubt that there was 100,000 people there if you told me that. And I was able to go there, and I was able to speak to the Virginia people, and I told them who they were as Virginians, and that there was blood spilled in their streets and in their cities and in their countryside, for the very rights that they were standing there that day to defend. And I think we need to get back to what this country was founded on, the Second Amendment being one of them. And all around, and they're using this pandemic to try to create new laws and stuff. Never let an emergency go on.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Never let a good crisis go to waste. Yeah. And they're trying to do things, and they don't have the right to do it.
It's interesting because we just saw this past week, there was a mass shooting up in Canada, in Nova Scotia, And the Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Trudeau, came out immediately and said that, all of the quote unquote assault weapons, but we know what that really means is the semi-automatic rifles. He has banned those. When you go back to November 2017, think about if the mentality of Justin Trudeau was here in the United States of America, you would not have been able to return fire against the assailant there at the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs.
Absolutely. I'm going to say he had on Class 3 body armor, and he had a semi-automatic also, and he murdered people. And had I not had the gun that I had at that moment,
and your training,
and the training, I'll be honest, I NRA instructor and used to compete and shoot bowling pins. And as a matter of fact, the rifle that I had that day, I built myself for that specific type scenario. I shot bowling pins and stuff, and shooting and moving. Had I not had that rifle, I probably would have been accounted with the deceased.
And the amazing thing about what happened at Sutherland Springs, the story is that once the truth came out that the killer there, the murderer, the assailant, illegally had a firearm because there was a failure in the legal system. None of his crimes were ever reported, so that his lying on the form 4473 was never tracked because the Air Force nor the ATF had any of that information. And then, of course, we found out about you, just an everyday, ordinary American citizen who stepped up and protected the people there. What do you say about the fact that, the media continues to put that disinformation or even misinformation out there when we have these events such as what happened with you?
Well, it's ridiculous. It's the very same government that they want to ban guns from us that dropped the ball and didn't report all the things. He had 2 felony convictions, one for cruelty to an animal and one for fracturing his infant son's skull. And that's also a family violence, which is another one on that form that you check off. They put him into a mental institution, which is another infraction that he should not have been able to buy a gun. And then eventually they gave him a dishonorable discharge from the Air Force, which is another one. But guess what? He lied on all those forms. And the very same government that wants to ban the guns is the one that dropped the ball and didn't report the things that would have prevented him from buying that gun to begin with. And you don't have to look any farther than our southern border to know that the drug cartels, they don't care about any laws. I talked to Chief Louderback, or Sheriff Louderback, and he's one of a presidential advisor for border security. And Sheriff Louderback said that the drug cartels, now let this soak in, have a $500 billion budget to work with. And let's just say that the black market dried up tomorrow, which it won't. The black market will always be there. Let's say the black market dried up tomorrow. They could take $1 billion and build the best firearms manufacturing plant that you could ever find and manufacture them themselves. They don't need the black market, even though, and they're not getting them from regular individuals like you and me, because they're getting full automatic, they're getting grenade launchers and things like that. Every time they do a big guns bust, it's not just semi-automatic guns, it's the whole gamut of true military style guns, M16s and grenade launchers and things like that we can't get us. So they try to say that it's us, that we are supplying Mexico with those guns. It's not true.
Well, yeah, and we saw that with the Operation Fast and Furious, and the fact that the United States Border Patrol agent Brian Terry lost his life because of that. Let's talk about the aftermath. Let's talk about how has Sutherland Springs recovered, how has it healed. I had the great opportunity to go and walk through the new Sutherland Springs First Baptist Church there. It's an incredible facility. So talk to us about some of the things that you all have done there as a community to become stronger, and then also the philanthropic endeavor that you're doing to help one of the survivors from that day.
Well, Sutherland Springs is an amazing place. And I tell people all the time that November 5th didn't define Sutherland Springs. Instead, it just shined a spotlight on my community to show the rest of the world who we truly were. We have pulled together, and though we still hurt, and there'll be pain, and things will never be the same. But we've been able to build a new facility. And where that church had 53 people in attendance that morning, now typically we have 200 people in attendance. That church has reached out across borders, and we live stream to South America. We even have had people say that they're listening to our live streaming in Africa. So we're reaching the world. And we still have difficult times ahead. And like you alluded to, Chris Workman was shot. He was the last man in the church that got shot. He was shot in the back and it instantly paralyzed Chris. He's the praise ministry leader of the church. And every Sunday morning he rolls his wheelchair up on stage and he still leads the praise and the singing. He's also our youth ministry, and he takes care of the youth of our church, and he's out there doing things with them, taking them to camp and things, and him and his wife Colby are staples of our community. And Chris lives in a trailer home, and being wheelchair bound now, he can't roll his wheelchair down the hallway and maneuver. It's real hard for him to maneuver into his daughter's bedroom, and then the bedroom's so small he can't really maneuver around in the bedroom either. So we are trying to raise money to build Chris and Colby a handicap accessible home. And not because we feel sorry for him. That's not it at all. It's because we are inspired by him. Yeah. He's a man that has not let anything slow him down. He races a cart. He used to race a car, but now he has no control over his legs, so he races a cart. And he gets out there and still races this cart and stuff. He gets out there and he engages in a ice hockey, paraplegic ice hockey league. And he actually competes in ice hockey with our wounded veterans.
Wow.
He's out there. He's not letting anything slow him down. So we want to make it where he can live as normal of a life as possible. Mm-hmm. And he said, what makes me deserve this? And I said, nothing makes you deserve it. I said, well, we as a community want, because you are giving back to your community every day and have never stopped, even through this tragedy. You know, some people would say, I'm done. I have nothing left to give. I've given my legs. But you're out there giving continuously. You're out there working with the youth. You're out there being an example for people. And you're up there praising God on the stage. I said, we just want to help Chris and Colby and Evie. He has a 7-year-old daughter, and she's beautiful. We want them to live as normal of a life as possible. And you know, we want to provide for them so they can continue to give back to our community.
And that's the greatness of Texas and Texans, is that resiliency. That's that resolve. And it is, you know, not seeing a disability, but seeing an ability that he continues on. So how can people connect and help out with this effort to get Chris and Colby Workman that house built for them, that handicap accessible? Is there a website people can go to?
I sent it to you guys. It's like the Soldiers Support Fund, and it's on my website. You can go. And you go there, and what they do is they build homes for disabled soldiers. Mm-hmm. Chris didn't qualify as a disabled soldier, but we're using their 501c3, and we're funneling. And there is a button that you can click that says "Donate to Chris Workman" on their website, and you can click on that button, and you can directly donate to Chris's house. And I think it's Soldiers Support Foundation, San Antonio, Texas.
We'll make sure that gets out there. And then how can people follow you, and how can people support you in your race to be the county commissioner down there in Wilson County? And I want everyone to know that my dear friend Stephen Willeford has my full support and endorsement for his race as county chairman down there in Wilson County.
And I want to endorse you also, Colonel. I'm honored and would love you to be the Republican chair of Texas.
Well,
my website for county commissioner is Willeford, WILLEFORD, for Texas, FOR, Texas.com. That's my political website. I have a speakers website because I travel nationwide and I speak and I help churches set up safety response teams, and you could find that at StephenWilleford.com, StephenWilleford.com. And again, I have my Facebook, Stephen Willeford, and I have places where that you can find that link if you go back in my history and stuff, and I'll repost it, bring it up front too. But so we're going to have a fundraiser soon. It was supposed to have already happened, but somebody donated a Harley Davidson to help raise money for Chris, and George Strait donated a signed guitar.
Nice.
For an auction item. And we encourage anyone that has any other auction items that they want to go ahead and get in contact with us and donate those items for silent auction or live auction. And there will be another date coming soon as all this blows over and we can get a group together again. And it'll be held at Texas Pride Barbecue.
Okay. And last thing before we go, if there are some people that want to come down and spend time and attend church service there at First Baptist Church of Sutherland Springs, just tell them what time the service is on Sunday.
Well, normally we start breakfast. We have breakfast normally. Now, not right now, we're not because of social distancing and everything. Normally we start breakfast at 9 o'clock and then have class after breakfast, 10 o'clock. And church services start at 11 o'clock. We have had church services at our building, inside the building, through all this. We are now live streaming also, and we do have a drive-in, so you can drive in and click on a radio station, open up a radio station and do it in the parking lot if you wish, or you can come join us in the building too. We still have church in our building.
That's what I love about the folks down there in Wilson County and Sutherland Springs, is that the Spirit of the Lord prevails over anything, and that includes coronavirus.
Amen.
Stephen Willeford,
I've given my God ample opportunity to take me home. I used to ride crazy on a motorcycle and stuff when I was young. I've given him ample opportunity to take me home if he wanted to. He has not yet, and if I do die of corona, then it was all in his plan anyway.
Nah, you ain't. He's not done with you yet. So Stephen Willeford, my dear friend, thank you so very much. God bless you, and tell your family and everyone down there in Sutherland Springs I said hello, and I look forward to getting back down and seeing y'all.
Thank you. God bless. Come see us. Anyone out there, come see us. Come join us. You'll find God there.
There you go. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.